100%. Okay, so here you go, SEC fans. The Texas Longhorns hitting the road to go take on Sam Pittman and Arkansas. Now, it was, if our memory serves correctly, a win against Texas that made everybody really fall in love with Sam Pittman early on. You know, when you're like, this guy, look at what he did for us. Now, I haven't checked the Gaming Commission. I will do that here shortly. But what chances do we give the Razorbacks to pull off an upset?
They've got a chance. I mean, let's look at Texas so far this year. Like, what has Texas done to make you think that they are impervious to being upset on the road against Arkansas? They were nearly upset on the road against Vanderbilt. They played well on the road against Michigan, but other than that, they've been home or at a neutral site every single week. And they haven't, when you go, like, this is the thing we've been arguing about or whatever, their resume, not exactly impressive as far as it comes to who they've beaten. Like, they have a really impressive loss. They don't have a very impressive win. And this is the Arkansas team that at home beat Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Texas is a beatable squad. And I mentioned it. Texas looked great against Florida last week, but as I talked about on the reaction show, to me, without DJ Lagway, Florida is one of those teams where if you get ahead of them in the first quarter, they're going to understand they have no shot to win, and they're going to turtle up, and then you can just keep kicking them and kicking them and kicking them and kicking them. If Arkansas gets off to a good start here, I don't think they're going to lay down in quite the same way that we saw Florida do last week. But at the same time, Quinn Ewers, even if Florida wasn't playing a great football game, physically, he looked better in that game than he had at any point since coming back from being hurt, and even maybe a little bit before he finally did pull himself out when he was hurt. So that is encouraging if I'm Texas. So it'll be interesting for me. The thing I want to focus on is, because they still don't really run the ball very well, can Quinn Ewers make those vertical passes that he was making last week that we haven't seen him make? Because this Arkansas defense, like, we could talk about their record, and they're one of like the 3 SEC teams that isn't ranked, but statistically this is a good Arkansas football team. Like, they're good on offense, they're good on defense. They're not elite at anything, but they're not bad at anything either. So they are very much a factor in this game at home, capable of pulling off an upset like this. So this is not, if I'm a Texas fan, I'm a little nervous going into this one.
I don't know, Tom. Like, I'm very convinced by their strong wins against Colorado State, a possible bowl team in Michigan, UTSA, UL Monroe, Mississippi State, Oklahoma. They stayed within 15 to Georgia at home. Solid, 3-point win against the likely 6-6 Vanderbilt team. There's a lot there to convince me. And they beat a Florida's third-string quarterback pretty bad. There's a lot there to make me believe this is a really, really good Texas team. Facetious, but look, they have shown weakness at times this year. The game that concerns you, I think, is the Arkansas-Ole Miss game.
Yeah, I was going to say, so what do we do about that? Because that game was at home.
They didn't have Braxton. They didn't have a couple of guys in the secondary, and Ole Miss just ran by them.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? As much as I think Tom is correct about Ewers maybe looking healthier and more comfortable, getting Bond back also increases his comfort level quite a bit. And they had Bond back last week, and that was important, I think. Arkansas has real D linemen. And I don't really know who has Texas faced who have like legitimate D linemen. I think Michigan does, I think Oklahoma does, and I think Georgia does. And they were very professional in their 2 approaches against Michigan and against Oklahoma. And they kind of panicked a little bit against Georgia. So how do they play this? I think Texas should be fine, but Taylor Green is kind of a wild card too.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. The game against Ole Miss was at home, but then they've had a week off. Now they're back at home in this spot right now. You absolutely need to force turnovers. Like, you need you need to create some you need to prevent Steve Sarkisian's Texas offense from just totally getting into a rhythm, because so much of the way that these things build upon each other are what are going to open things up for the run game. If you get short possessions, if you are able to get a couple 3 and outs, if you're able to have a good special teams play to help out with some field position, then you really give yourself that opportunity, because that to me is the path for Arkansas to be able to pull off this upset is to get Quinn kind of moving backwards a little bit, because with Texas's offensive line, we have something that we see all the time in college football. The players are talented. The performance might not meet the expectation. And there have been times this season where, whether it is in the run game or whether it is even in pass protection, a offensive line that I know has multiple NFL players will have a dumbass holding call. When like a
All right. They said the right tackle's healthy,
okay,
so that's helpful.
it is helpful, but do you disagree with the analysis? Aren't there some
No, I
times
think
when
you're
you're
exactly
watching
right.
this Texas offense where you're like, guys, you guys are too good to be doing this dumbass stuff right now, and this is the kind of Arkansas defensive line that can expose that, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Any other matchup points that you got your eyes on here?
I mean, you guys touched on it a little bit with the way Ole Miss tore them apart. Like, if there is a weakness to this Arkansas defense, it is in the passing game. Their secondary has been susceptible at times. Like, the Ole Miss game really skews a lot of their overall numbers because it was just that epically bad in the game. But even against LSU, they weren't great, and against Tennessee, they were great. So it's like, which version of that defense shows up? I think if they're healthier this week than they were in that Ole Miss game, maybe we'll see. I mean, it's hard to imagine they'll be worse, but it is going to come down to that because Texas has very good wide receivers. I don't know if we've mentioned that at any point this year. So they're very talented. They're going to be very difficult to stop, and it is going to come down to, can they pressure Quinn Ewers and make him make mistakes? Because Quinn Ewers, as we have seen too, not exactly shy about making mistakes when he's under pressure.